I'm unstoppable. Forget your defense, nothing but an obstacle. Run it back, switch it up, call it audible. Serving up them Hail Marys till the game over with. The showstopper so hot you gotta blow on it. I said I'll huff and I'll puff, then I'll pass to my left while I'm looking to my right. Hit him right in the chest, it be looking like magic. Better give me the throne. I ain't talking about Patrick, but I rep my home. I'm never at the end of my zone, I'm bad to the bone. Eating up these pig skins like they chicharrones. And you a douche cabron. Mira, mira at the mirror on the wall. I'm the greatest of them all. They gon' put me in the hall. Your name is only written in a bathroom stall. Quit your stalling and make a play. My drive too long, pop the clutch, I don't pump the brakes. I know what it takes to gain the muscle, get rugged. These butterfingers be fumbling, squash a scrimmage and rub it in Robitussin. How I give them concussion, they see in double, they rushing and pass the shovel, the dirt and rubble, I bury them under it. Stay in your huddle and get 10 yards back, never turn your back. I'ma pull your flag, I go full contact, out punch, out kick like a shotgun blast on one out snap. It's a fact that I'm unstoppable. Forget your defense, nothing but an obstacle. Run it back, switch it up, calling audible. Serving up them Hail Marys till the...
I think that was a new intro. I don't think I've seen that before. What's up, guys? This is the Horseshoe Mob Podcast. Thanks for joining us tonight. Sorry for being late. I got off of work late. I had to go get some food, so it is all my fault. I apologize.
Food's overrated. Food's overrated.
It is overrated, but and I would agree normally, but I hadn't eaten all day, so that was my first meal today. So that's yes, I do agree. Because food is overrated because I just got my first meal today. So, but hey, we're here with the boys tonight. No Josh tonight. He's out taking care of some business. So it's just gonna be the three of us hanging out with you guys tonight. Of course, we've got Ryan. How you doing tonight, Ryan?
Doing good.
All right, and of course, the silent assassin himself, Austin Cook. How you doing tonight?
What's up? I'm doing good. How are you?
Man, I'm doing all right. And the Colts are doing A-OK too, sneaking by a 3-win team. 25-24 on a game-winning 2-point run-in by Anthony Richardson. Just skin of their teeth, getting through, this really, really good Patriots team. And we're here to break it all down. Before we do that, of course, as always, fanbattlesports.com. Fanbattlesports.com, where you can get the latest and greatest from the AFC South, including, of course, the Colts, the Texans, the Titans, and the Jaguars. And, of course, the almighty Texas Longhorns, fanbattlesports.com. If you're interested in signing up for your own show, hit the contact us link, fill out all your information. Let us know. I'm going to hit you guys up. fanbattlesports.com. Alrighty, folks. Our first win in Foxborough since 2006. Let's get through that first. What does that feel like? Finally winning in that dreadful stadium we haven't won, 18 years now. How do you guys feel? I think that's a feel-good piece of all this. How do you guys feel?
Yeah, I, for some reason, hadn't heard that until we won, that we haven't won there since 2006. And it's kind of crazy because, we had Andrew Luck for so long. I don't know. I don't know. They just must have always had our number. I knew it's been a rivalry for a long time, but it feels good to beat the Patriots in general.
How you feel, Ryan?
I was happy, but I wasn't because I knew how bad the defense played throughout the entire game.
Yeah.
As I grow in age, I tend to when my team angers me, I tend to just keep my mouth shut now and just rage through the brain. But that defense, it was just pitiful. You going up against the worst offense in the league and you're letting them just run through. I don't think they punted the ball until the third quarter.
It was something like that. Yeah, there was a point in time where I think even the announcer was like, wow, this is the first punt the Patriots had. And I was like, this is really embarrassing that the Patriots punter didn't punt until literally towards the end of the end of the first. He had one punt all game. That was the third quarter. So that tells you how great our defense played, which seems to be I would want to say normal, but it's honestly versus the last few weeks, it's kind of an anomaly, right? Like the defense actually, for the most part, what is the last 5 or 6 weeks hasn't been that bad, right? They've had bad moments that kind of elevate their bad play, but like overall, I think the defense has actually been pretty good. As of course, we've got our regulars here. Sean, what's going on? Teresa, how's it going? Hope you guys are doing well. Thanks for joining us. Sorry we're late. But yeah, I mean, listen, it's always good to win in Foxborough. We and there's so many problems with this team, and it's kind of like I talked about last week. Until this team can figure out how to play like a team and not 22 individuals on a team, this is what we're gonna see. Like this is losing to a 3-12 team or winning to a 3-10 team the way they won is the sign of a bad team that doesn't have any chemistry. And I just don't feel like this team has any chemistry right now. And that's something we'll kind of deep and dive into over the course of the episode. But why don't you guys give me your reactions to the game first as a whole? And Austin, we'll start with you, and then Ryan will go with you, and then we'll kind of break it down because there's a few pieces here that I want to get to as far as the game goes within the game. So just your overall reaction.
Yeah, so I mean, like we've all said, the defense did not have a good game. We knew going into the game the Patriots weren't a great team, but we made Drake May look like a seasoned vet, and that's just it shouldn't have been that way. I think we should have beat them by multiple scores. Our offense played well without our best receiver. They weren't great at times, but did enough to get the win. And at the end of the day, that's what matters.
Ryan?
I mean, it was just another game from Anthony Richardson where you saw some development going on. Yeah, if you're a box score watcher, you're probably going to argue that fact with me, but he was 12 for 24. He ended up having 109 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. One of those picks wasn't his fault. But I would say the defense, this game could have gone either way completely. If you add another 10 to 15 seconds onto that clock for Drake May, they were going to gain more yards and get closer because their kicker, I can't remember his name, but he was about 5 yards short, about 3 to 5 yards short from actually hitting that field goal, which was just freaking beyond me, a 68-yard field goal. But that interception that the Colts had, that saved the game. What a freak interception that was. I don't think they would be able to attempt that a second time. There's just lots of things that could have gone the other way. And I think the Colts had the luck of the Irish in this game. I did like how they got Jonathan Taylor going. He didn't average the best. I think it was like 4.4 yards per carry, somewhere around there. But I did like how they got him going. So that opened things up a little bit. But I'm not going to say much about the tight ends, but the tight end play, once again, disappointed. And there's nothing we can really do about it up to this point in the season. Like, we didn't address it in free agency. We didn't address it with an in-season trade, and now we have to wait for the offseason. So that's what I got.
It's interesting about the tight end. And listen, I'm not a box score watcher as well, right? Obviously, I've watched the game. I get I get the challenges of the offense. I still don't think this offense is at its full potential. I don't think the offense was great either. Like, I'm gonna be honest. I think it had great moments. I still don't think even Richardson did some really like weird things in this game that I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, what was the read? There was the interception that he threw. I think was it in triple coverage? And then I was thinking like, what is the read there? Like, what read are you making for you to make that throw? And again, it's not about the completion percentage for me. It's not about all that other stuff. There's this team just hasn't clicked yet. And we're 13 weeks into the season. It comes to a point to where like are they even going to click this year? Because we've only got like 4 games left. And one of those 4 weeks is a bye next week. So you've got 4 games after that. You got to, if you're going to make a playoff push, you've got to win those 4 games. And if you're not going to make a playoff push, you're going to find yourself in the same spot that this regime finds themselves in almost every year, which is like that 8-9, 9-8 kind of like limbo world, right? Where you can't, you didn't do enough to get into the playoffs, and then you did too much to get yourself any hope of any real value in the draft to add another talented piece to this roster. The tight end play, like you said, Ryan, is really abysmal. I think bad is understating it. The tight end play at this point is abysmal. It's non-existent. It's almost you can't go to it. And I think there's a couple things to it, and I'm curious to hear what you guys think about that, because before we get to that, I think there's a couple things to it, and I want to get down to that, but I'm really curious next. Like, Anthony Richardson was clutch in this game on the line, and I'm kind of going to put these next 2 things kind of in the same line of sight. How would you rate Anthony Richardson's performance overall in this game? Anybody, Ryan, we'll start with you this time.
I don't know. I'd probably go a 7. Just because he did miss some throws, some throws were high, some throws were behind the receivers, and then he would get upset when they wouldn't catch the balls that were behind them that were completely uncatchable. But he didn't really come alive until the fourth quarter. I felt like he was kind of coasting until the fourth quarter, and until he found out it was ice in his veins time. And on that final drive, that's really what it was all about. The 19 play, 5-minute play drive. But the main thing that I look for Anthony Richardson week by week, no matter the game, is progression. Are you showing me any kind of development, something that can give me hope for the future, right?
Yep.
And in each game, I'm seeing it. He's ever since he came back, we've really seen a different Anthony Richardson. We really have. And I don't know what was going on in the background in the team meetings or whatever it was, but he came back and he's playing with a purpose now. He's not playing like the team is his. He's playing like he's constantly having to earn it each week. That's my take on it. But I would rate him a 7 just off of performance, because he did have clutch plays, but he also did miss some easy passes there.
What do you think, Austin?
Yeah, I think I would go like a 6.5. The 2 interceptions, obviously, one was tipped, and then the other one was behind Pierce, and Gonzalez just made a good play on it. But I mean, anytime you have a turnover, 2 turnovers in a game, it's not great. But he did lead us to a win. He was very clutch. Yeah, I mean, Ryan covered it pretty well. He had good throws, and then he had some bad throws, and you saw a sense of urgency in him at the end of the game, trying to get guys ready up to the line. Frustrated when they weren't having that same sense of urgency, being a leader essentially. And that's what you want to see. You want to see him continue to be a leader on the team, because that's what you want in your quarterback.
There was one throw that Anthony Richardson had that I thought was beautiful. And it was a little touch pass. I can't remember. It was to the sideline. I don't remember when it happened. It was a little touch pass. I think he dropped in between a corner and a safety. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
That was like, those are the types of throws that I'd like to see him make more consistently. I thought that was a beautiful throw. What did you guys think about the offensive line play in this game? We hadn't really talked about it. I feel like it improved. I think it's been better than it has been, than we had Dalton in the game. What did you guys think about the O-line play?
I thought the O line was pretty good. Um, if you compare it to when Dalton Tucker was out at right guard, one thing I will say about this organization is they saw that they had a massive flaw on the offensive line, and they addressed it. And the only thing that was probably rough around the edges with the offensive line was having Danny Pinter in there. But
Yeah.
that's a given. He's third string center, so you're not really expecting much out of him. But Glasnow being at right guard, it was for the benefit of the team.
Yep.
And I'm kind of glad that they did that, because if you would still have Dalton Tucker in there, I'm not sure if Anthony Richardson would have actually had zero, would have been sacked 0 times this past game. But overall, the offensive line, I thought it was pretty solid. It's probably the best that I've seen in probably about 5 weeks.
Feels like a long time. What do you think,
Yeah.
Austin?
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the penalties, it was a huge improvement from last week. Um, the run blocking was great. We saw JT finally get going after a few down games. Um, like he said, Glow was, I think he played really well in his first game back. It was nice to have Bernard Raymond on the other, or Ryman on the other side, left tackle. So I think they played great if you're comparing the last couple weeks. Obviously, still need to be some improvements, but definitely a step in the right direction.
Hopefully there's some continuity with the unit, because that's one thing you need on the offensive line is the same guys playing. When this organization's offensive line was at its best, it's because they'd all played together for so long. And we haven't had that in a long time. So hopefully we found that. I don't know if we have or not. I guess time will tell. Well, how things kind of play out. But we'll see. I was very impressed. Listen, I'll be one of those. I'm not a big fan of paying guards. Obviously, Quentin Nelson is an anomaly. I didn't want to pay Glow, and maybe the amount of money he got for New York. But I thought it was a huge mistake to let him go. That role for as long as he's been gone has been a revolving door since. And it's glad to hopefully get some stability back in there. And whether that's too late or not, I don't know. But it's one of the you mentioned that you were happy that they made the move as quick as they did at right guard. It's one of the very few very quick moves that this organization has made in the last years. So I guess if there's anything to celebrate, I'm glad that they noticed that. Oh my gosh, our guard sucks. We should make a change. But don't worry, our linebackers still can, which is a very important part of this game. But hey, that's neither here nor there. That's a story for another day. But I think I give Anthony Richardson a 7. Right? I don't think it was bad. I don't think it was great. I'm still waiting for that beginning to end great game from Anthony. Right? And I think it's coming. I don't know when. I'm seeing moments in the last 3 weeks where it's like, if he can do what he did this week, take what he did last week, and take what he did 2 weeks ago and put it all together, this is all we ask of him. We're not asking Anthony Richardson to be Superman. We're not asking for him to be, Patrick Mahomes, right? That's not what we're asking him to do. If he can, an average Anthony Richardson gives this team a chance to win every season. And that's all we're asking him to be, is average. And I think he's like below average to average most weeks, and some weeks he's average, some weeks he's above, some weeks he's below. Consistency to right now for him is average. Can you be average every single week? So that's what I'm hoping. And Sean says 6-7. Offensive line played good. The linebackers suck too. Our linebackers are putrid. I'm sorry. Our podcasters, they constantly piss me off. And it's not even about just tackling. Is obviously the major portion of it, but run fits, terrible. filling in the holes behind. Like it really, DeForest Buckner and poor Grove Stewart, they're plugging these holes, and then the linebackers can't come in and fill the holes that they're plugging, and so these guys are getting out in space and getting into the second level. These linebackers are I just don't get it. Like they both got paid and they're both atrocious. So
I mean,
I don't know what they're gonna do at the linebacker position.
you wonder why all of these teams are throwing across the middle. And it's because they know that EJ Speed and Zaire Franklin can't cover anything. I mean, coming out of college, they weren't even cover linebackers. This is just they're scheme players for Gus Bradley. And this is what Gus Bradley believes in. And this is why I have been constantly saying all season long, there needs to be a change with the defensive coordinator. Bring in Eberflus. I don't care. Eberflus, he was good for turnovers. He didn't have a great defense overall. But obviously, when you bring in a new defensive coordinator, there's going to be a changeover with some players. And I'm fine with that because EJ Speed and Zaire Franklin were talking all that shit in the offseason, how awesome they are, talking shit on the Texans, and they haven't performed shit unless you just are a box score watcher and look at their tackles. That's it.
Yeah, they're bad. And again, it goes to what I've been saying for 2 to 3 years. This is on Chris Ballard. Why are you drafting players that don't fit your defensive coordinator's scheme? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Why hold on to players that don't match your scheme? Like, we're saying it's the scheme, but then we're also saying, the players are bad. But then it can be both, maybe, and maybe it is, but it's on the GM to recognize this, and he doesn't. He is not. If the scheme is the issue, then Chris Ballard is putting Gus Bradley in a place for failure, and Gus Bradley's just kind of like, well, I can't do anything else. Like, I'm not getting the players that I need, and then it's on development for not developing these players so that he can use them. So again, it's a whole organizational, and there's just too many pieces not in the right space in the right spot, for us to really evaluate how good this team is, because again, there's 22 guys on a field together. This does not feel like a team to me.
I mean,
any thoughts, Austin?
I mean, yeah, I agree. Gus Bradley needs to go. Chris Ballard needs to go. Whatever else needs to happen to make that change, just do it.
Stop winning. That's what you need to do. Stop winning.
Well, I want to win, but
I do too. Win just enough. Go 9-8 again. Chris Ballard.
But when it comes to Gus Bradley, all game we were playing back, giving them everything underneath, and then we wouldn't make a tackle, and that's when their big plays would come. It's just the same thing every single week, and it just gets annoying watching that.
I think it's fine to play back if you can tackle.
Sometimes, yeah.
I mean, they're going to have to, if they want to get rid of Zaire Franklin, they're going to have to trade him because he's got 2 years left on his contract. EJ Speed, this is the last year of his contract. So we're going to figure out shortly what's going to happen. But Chris Ballard, he's got to be kicked at this point because he's been, what is this, 8th, 9th season? This is his team. He put it all together, and this is what you got on the field. And every single season, it's been a struggle on the same defensive side of the field where they can't stop the run. That's just one aspect of it, but there's multiple aspects. They've always been shorthanded when it came to the secondary, and this year it's more of the same. Yeah, there are injuries, but you have to account for those injuries. That's why there's free agency, so you can add depth, but he refuses to do that. And there were plenty of safeties in the offseason that were just sitting there prior for the picking, even when it came to training camp, and he still refused. We like the guys we got.
Yeah, the depth thing, for this team, is such a bogus thing to say. because in order for you to have depth, here's the position. I feel like at wide receiver we had depth, right? Because I think you have top end talent. You have your Alec Pierce, Michael Pittman Jr. And then you got Josh Downs, and then you've got other guys. You got A.D. Mitchell who can fill the need if you need him to. You've got Ashton Dulin who can come in and plays a specialist role. You've got Michael Pittman Jr. who can do like things or attributes or traits that some of the other guys can do. Like Michael Pittman Jr. has options, right? He has opportunities to go get big and get balls sometimes. Well, not 80% of the time his hands are like rocks, right? But you've got that 20% where he can go make a big catch and triple coverage and have his helmet ripped off. Like those, like that to me is a position of depth. I feel like we have depth on the defensive line. Believe it or not, I think this defensive line is actually pretty good. Even like Taven, Taven Bryan, who we all hate, that guy has made some plays at some points in this season. And I think defensive line is another place where I think we've got depth. I can't really name another position outside of what we have. Maybe running, but you got Trey Sermon and Jonathan Taylor. Sermon's okay. Goodson's your out of the backfield guy. This team doesn't have a lot of depth, and that's because it's depth guys or it's main guys, and that's the problem. Like, you can't have that on a football team, especially in the NFL. Your depth guys cannot be your first and second string guys. It's just not how this works. This team is missing a lot of top end. So speaking of missing top end talent, as we look forward to the draft, and obviously it's not draft season yet, the Colts are still in the thick of things. They're still in the hunt, as they always are at this time of the season to make the playoffs. But right now, I think the Colts are like what, 15th, 16th in draft order pick, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. I want to say it's like 15th or 16th. I can remember correctly. Let me see.
We're at 15 right
yeah,
now.
15. Yeah, they're 15. So obviously we've seen the one guy I've seen the most kind of connected to the Colts in the draft is Malachi Starks. So basically that's gonna happen. But there are a couple of tight ends out there in college, specifically Tyler Warren, the tight end out of Penn State, who I think is a great fit for this team. Would you use a high pick on a tight end if you were the Colts?
Go ahead.
I personally would, because throughout that fourth quarter, you really saw how often Anthony Richardson was going to his tight ends, especially on the last drive. It was back to back plays for your tight end. And that was when he was under duress, and that is his final check down. It's not the running back for him. It's the tight end, because the tight end is right in front of his face most of his time in the middle of the field. So in terms of getting growth and being able to get production out of your tight end position, I mean, you would have to be blind not to be able to see the lack of production and how much it hinders Anthony Richardson. I mean, there were 6 or 7 passes that were sent the tight end's direction out of 24 passes.
Yeah.
So that's a high percentage right there. I personally would, but it also depends on if Ballard is still GM. If he is, he's going to go safety. And we obviously have issues with Blackman as well. So I can see them going safety and then doing the same thing they usually do in the second and third round, going to tight end. But I think if you want to get production out of your tight end and get a quality player that is going to fit your scheme, you're gonna have to do it in the first round. And if you're selecting 15, you're prime for the picking. I mean, you still have Colston Loveland, who's out of Michigan. Yeah, he hasn't had a lot of throws sent his way. I mean, you got Davis Warren throwing you the ball, and he's not the most accurate or agile quarterback to be able to get him the ball to begin with. So I personally like Colson Loveland, but I also like that kid out of Penn State, Warren, as well.
What do you think? What do you think, Austin?
Uh, I definitely do think we need to do something else at tight end. Um, I don't know about a first round tight end. Like if we went first round tight end, I'd be okay with that. Um, but like we saw how big of an impact Jack Doyle was when we had him in this offense. Like he was literally reliable. He was there, open all
Yep.
the time. If we needed a first down, Jack Doyle, he's not dropping that ball. We need somebody like that for AR whenever he is rolling out to the side and somebody to dump the ball off to. So I do think tight end should be at the top, somewhere at the top of our list of needs for this offseason.
So I'm looking at just a random mock draft, tankathon.com. Not like the greatest source in the world to use for like your mock drafts. It currently has Tyler Warren mocked at 23 to the Broncos. And that was as of 2 days ago when the last and then it has Colston Loveland going 12 to the Dolphins. So they have the Colts at 13, and they have the Colts picking Jalen Walker. So that kind of tells you like how unreliable this source is. But I just did a random search of like most recent mock drafts, and that's one that came up. Another one that came up is the 33rd team, which is one that I don't know if you guys are familiar with or not. It's actually a pretty good site. They've got the Colts. Let's see, picking. Oh, let's see. They have the Colts picking an the tackle out of Minnesota in the first round, Arante Ursary, which I don't know if you guys know this guy. He's really good. He's the tackle out of Minnesota. I got a chance to watch him last week. That guy's actually pretty good, but I don't know if that's what the Colts need right now. And then they have Harold Fannin Jr. out of Bowling Green in the second, which I know Austin. That's a guy you've mentioned before. What
like
have you
him.
seen from Harold Fannin that you think is going to
I
help?
do. I think he's a very reliable receiver. I don't know much about his blocking. I haven't watched a ton of Bowling Green, but from everything I've seen, he's got good hands, and I feel like he's open. Again, it's Bowling Green; they don't play the best competition, but
Yeah.
everything I've saw, he just seems reliable.
Yeah, it looks like his athleticism is what they're saying. So if Ballard's still here, you better hope his raw score is like 9.8, or he's not. He has no shot at being a Colt. So I mean that's interesting. I think tight end is obviously a high need for this team. I think obviously I would probably put tight end safety 1, tight end 2. And those are really interchangeable. But it'll be interesting to see what the Colts do in the draft. But we've got to wait to make sure we don't accidentally win out. And so we'll have to wait until the draft talks until after that happens. But let's see. When we all play together, Teresa says we are the shit, but we don't do that very often, and it shows. That is a very true statement.
Yep.
Linebacker 2 with the first 2 picks. Linebacker, I don't know if I would grab the type of linebacker we need with the first round. Javon Walker, the linebacker out of Georgia, is the one that I see the first linebacker coming off the board, but he's more of a 3-4 linebacker, not a 4-3 linebacker. He plays that linebacker edge rush kind of role at Georgia. Now he's very disruptive. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know if that's the type of linebacker that this team needs. But that's somebody that's definitely interesting. Doyle rules. You don't really realize like how much a player how important a player is to a franchise until you lose them. I was like that with Jack Doyle. I wasn't the biggest Jack Doyle fan until like later in his career, and then we lost him, and I was kind of like, oh man, I wish we had no, because that's the type of tight end that you need. We don't even need an athletic freak. You just need a guy that's reliable to catch the ball in certain situations, and we just don't have it. So
Well, we
shout out
saw
to Jack.
what happens when you draft an athletic freak at the tight end position. He don't play. Jelani Woods was an athletic freak, but he
Yeah, and
hasn't
Raz
done
scored
anything.
9.8. He's hurt all the time, right? Jelani Woods may be that guy. We still don't know if he's that guy because he just, like you said, he can't stay healthy.
I would love for him to be that guy, but I just don't
Yeah, I
know.
think we all would. I think he'd be perfect. But again, the best of the best. The what do they say? The best ability is availability, and he just doesn't have that. So we have no proper way to evaluate him. So, Teresa says, I've been a fan since 1984. My dad sat me down and told me to always root for your home team. So I did it ever since. I remember on the radio, I remember when it was radio only. I worked at Shapiro's downtown, and when Harbaugh would throw a touchdown, they threatened to take my radio. Jesus. Um, I don't want to tell you what I was doing in 1984 because I didn't exist. And I never listened to the Colts on the radio because the TV was available when I watched. So those are very interesting stories to always hear. Obviously, we haven't been watching the Colts that long, and I don't know. Ryan, have you been watching since '84?
No, I was born in '82, so no.
So you were also listening on the radio. You just had no idea.
Yeah, I had no idea.
But it's always interesting to hear like those older stories on like how you guys grew up and listened to and watched the Colts. Thanks for sharing that story. We need a top all around tight end. This is the thing. I don't think we need like a do it all tight end. I don't think that's what we need. I just think we need a specialized skill set of a tight end that can do certain things like catch the ball in certain situations. I think we've got route running tight ends. I think we've got RPO tight ends. We just need a guy that can go be the reliable. Hey, it's 4th and 2. Anthony Richardson's getting rushed. He's got to check down to somebody really quick. I think that's the type of tight end that. And Sean is laughing at us because we are younger. And Sean has also been a radio listener since 1984. So we appreciate you too, Sean. Thank you so much. All righty, gentlemen. Last topic of the night. Of course, the last thing to break down, our most favorite thing to talk about when it comes to our Colts. The defense allowed rookie Drake May to have one of his best games as a pro. Before we get into this, what are your thoughts as Drake May as a pro so far? And Ryan, we'll start with you on this one.
I mean, so to begin his career with the Patriots did not want to start him whatsoever. I've said this on my podcast multiple times. They were afraid for his life because of the offensive line. The offensive line is just putrid, and which is why we ended up having so many sacks as we did against them. But then they ended up starting him. And for as young as he is, he's 22. He's the same age as Anthony Richardson. Just throw that little nugget out there. I've actually been kind of impressed because unlike Caleb Williams, unlike Jaden Daniels, he doesn't really have too many weapons. Like, yeah you got Kendrick Bourne, Ramondre Stevenson, you got a tight end, but it's not a lot to work with. And yeah, they continue to lose games, but his production has still been pretty good. Like, I've been pretty impressed by him. I don't know if he's going to be Tom Brady, but to say the least, and I don't even know if their head coach is going to last through next season. But for the time being, they're going to end up having a high draft pick, so they're probably going to bring on another weapon, which will make him even better. So, yeah, I mean, people were hesitant when they drafted him. There was a bunch of talk about trades within the top 3 picks, and I don't think the Patriots could be any happier with who they got.
Austin, what do you think?
Yeah, I think he looks pretty good. It's hard because, like Ryan said, their weapons are not very good at all. And they have a defensive-minded head coach and also a rookie defensive-minded head coach.
Yeah.
So he didn't come into the best situation as a rookie quarterback, but I think he's making the most out of what he has. And he has a good arm and he can move in the pocket pretty well, which he needs. Like Ryan said, his O line isn't very good. But I think he's gonna be a pretty good quarterback in the league, uh, as long as the Patriots continue to build around him.
The one guy that I think would be perfect for him is T-Mac out of Arizona. I think that would be a perfect fit for him. You bring a big guy like that. I think Kendrick Bourne's really good. I think they have some, but again, kind of like we have a lot of issues around. They just had a bunch of guys at wide receiver, but they don't have a top end guy. If they bring in like a T-Mac into this rotation of their wide receivers, that's a great young guy for Drake May to grow with. The one thing, and you mentioned, his age. The one thing Drake May has over Anthony Richardson is he has experience, and I think that's helping him out a lot. He's got over 30 starts at North Carolina. He was a 4-year starter. Or was he a 3-year starter?
I think it was
He was. I think he started. Was he there 3 years? I can't remember if it was 3 years or 4 years. But he started every game he was there, essentially, right? And so that experience is showing. So he's got a lot of experience playing the quarterback position. And again, it just goes to show, if you look at these guys that are playing well at the NFL level, these guys have a lot of experience. Jaden Daniels, he has a lot of experience. He was a Heisman Trophy winner. Drake May, a lot of experience. He was a very good quarterback at North Carolina, despite how much Matt Brown goofed him for 2 years. Which and side note, North Carolina did Matt Memble, but Matt Brown also left Texas by trying to make Johnny Manziel a safety. So Matt Brown is also at fault on his own for a lot of his mistakes. Bo Nix. Bo Nix was like a 19-year starter in college. Like, that dude was in college forever. So these guys, they have a lot of experience, and I think that's the separation between what you've seen from Anthony Richardson and these other guys. These other guys are flourishing early because they played a lot in college, and Anthony Richardson did not. And that's just a simple fact. And so it's just going to take some time. It's going to take some patience. But now that you've said that, how would you guys rate or what do you guys think about his play against, having his best game against this defense? What did you notice out there?
So we, like I said before, we played back and gave him everything short, and it really they were attacking us where they needed to. Like, they definitely did enough offensively to beat us. It sucks that it had to come against us because, I don't hate Drake May, but I didn't want him to have the best game of his early career against us.
Yeah.
That game was just frustrating to watch defensively as a whole.
What do you think, Ryan?
I mean, he had a 96.9 rating against us. And then he had that freak interception, 238 yards. His completion percentage was 80%. I mean, as a rookie, that's pretty damn good against an NFL defense.
Yeah.
I use the NFL defense words loosely because we all know anything across the middle, every team in the NFL knows it, is going to be wide open. You could drive a bus through there. And that's what happened in this game in particular again. But I will say that Gus Bradley he's got a week to figure this out. And I'm not going to move on to the Broncos game or anything, but he's got a week to figure out this defense, because before this, he had a string of about a month where the defense actually looked like a top 10 defense, and now it looks like a defense that's ranked dead last in the NFL. And when you bring out a defense like that, any quarterback that has any skill whatsoever, and Drake May has a lot of skill, is going to slice and dice you. And that's what happened.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, kind of the same. Like I thought. Listen, I think Drake May is going to be a really good pro as well. This defense is just bad. And I think it's always been bad. I just think it's been hidden by some timely play over the last 6 weeks, and it's hit its peak, right? Because there's not a lot of talent on this defense, and so it's hit its peak. And so yeah, Sean says we don't have an NFL defense. You might be correct.
That's why I said that.
Yeah. Teresa says, I was used to being a winner with Manning and then Luck. Since Luck, it's been the same shit every year. Maybe it's the fireball talking, but we need to win, and it's too late. We're gonna be losing some players next year. Listen, Teresa, take another shot of fireball for all of us, because we're not gonna win anytime soon. So we've got, this franchise has a long way to get back to the winning years that we are all used to. The three of us grew up with, I grew up with winning with this team, right? Like I don't know what these struggles are like, and I was hoping to never found out. But as a Texas fan, I was prepped for 15 years, so this is kind of prepping me for that. And so I'm doing okay. But listen, we'll get through it. We'll move on. We'll find another GM, hopefully that can get us over this hump and build around this quarterback. And yeah, all we can do at this point is cross our fingers and hope. So, any final thoughts as we head into the bye week?
I mean, when it comes to what the Colts really need to work on is, I mean, the number one thing is, and I have been putting this out on Twitter, the Colts really need to give Will Mallory the lion's share of the targets over Kylan Granson, because he has exceedingly regressed this season. It's not looking pretty. I don't even think Kylan Granson had any catches. I know he had 2 targets. The one pass that was thrown Mallory's way, he caught one reception, 7 yards. So there's that. The other thing is, you're going to be going up against a top 15 defense. Now, we saw what Jameis Winston did last night against them. So you can obviously get some yards, score some points. Obviously, we hope that Anthony Richardson doesn't throw 2 pick sixes, but and I don't foresee that happening. But you're going to have to figure out that defense, because you're going to be going up against another rookie quarterback, and a rookie quarterback that actually has pretty good weapons. And the Colts, they got to figure that out, because otherwise this game isn't going to be pretty. This is the one game on their schedule for the rest of the way that I have circled, because if they win this game, they can win out. If they lose this game, I don't see them winning out, and they're going to end up having another number 15 to number 18 draft pick. And that will be sad for every Colts fan in the world.
Yep. What do you think, Austin? What do you think the focus should be as we head into this bye week and get ready for yet again another big game in the Ballard regime?
Yeah, so I mean, late bye weeks kind of suck.
Yes.
Early and late, trash. And we always get the late ones for some reason. But, hopefully the team uses this time to just, get healthy, get ready for these last 4 games, because we need to win them all if we're going to make a push. I just hope we get healthy, get everybody back that we can.
This gives Josh Downs enough time to get healthy. That's the one that I'm thinking about the most. If anybody has any lingering injuries, because nobody's at 100% at this point in the season. If you have any lingering injuries, obviously. Good opportunity to get ready for the final push of the season, whether you end up at 9-8, 8-9, or 6-10, or so whatever however many games they play this year. I don't know. I don't know how many games they play. 17. So what was that 7-10? I don't know. But yeah, listen, if you lose this Denver game, this season's over. You might as well just lose out, kind of like Sean says, because now you're talking about tanking, getting ready to fire your GM, getting ready for probably like a top 12 draft pick, maybe 7-10 is what land what are they 6-6 right now? So they would finish
6-7.
let's just say they lose this week, they finish 6-11. That might be like 13, 14, 15-ish range, which isn't great. I think they've already won too much to even land in the top 10. So no need to make matters worse than it already is. If you lose this game, I think you just gotta. I'd sit Anthony Richardson the rest of the year. Actually, maybe you don't. Maybe you do. This is probably the best time to play him. Now you just gotta playing for evaluation, right? So yeah, it'll be really interesting. Of course, we'll be back to kind of talk about the Broncos next week. No game this week. Any final thoughts before we get out of here, gentlemen?
No, I don't think so.
All righty. One last thing before I forget. Of course, don't forget the Colts jersey giveaway. I believe there's if you go sign up for our YouTube channel, sign up for a Twitter account, follow us on Twitter, follow us on TikTok, you get entered in for a chance to win a Colts jersey of your choice. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment on this video. Follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, on TikTok. And we will be back here next week. In the meantime, in between time, Ryan, where can the people find you?
You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter at HZS Ryan Van Dever. That is my tag on Twitter. That is where I do most of my Colts talk. You can also follow the Hot Spoon Sports on it as well. But we are on YouTube and we post 2 podcasts a week. We're going to have another podcast coming out on Friday. If you want to check it out, give me a sub. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Austin, where can the people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at CookieAustin2.
Awesome. Of course, as always, you can find me on Twitter at the Uncle Gandhi. Find me on Thursday nights with my boy Tim Wayne, Longhorn Fan Battle Podcast. We have a game to break down this week. It doesn't include Tennessee, but it does include Texas and Georgia. It also doesn't include little brother A&M. And so we'll break down the A&M game. We'll break down the SEC title game and hopefully prepare to be the first ever team to win the SEC title in its first year in the conference. But hey, that's for Thursday night, not tonight. But we're out of here. My name is Harish. These are my boys, Ryan and Austin. We out of here. Peace.
On one house snap, it's a fact that I'm unstoppable. Forget your defense, nothing but an obstacle. Run it back, switch it up. On one house snap, it's a fact that I'm unstoppable. Forget your defense, nothing but an obstacle. Run it back, switch it up, calling audible. Serving up